Hey everybody, here's the next video I've got lined up. Got to do a brake drum lining replacement on the wagon. It's not that they're worn out, but the brake pads that are on here now, whenever they get moist, in other words if it rains they get very sticky. So it tends to lock up the rear excessively even though this car has ABS. And it's because the person who had replaced these from the factory ones just neglected to put on they put the cheapest pad they could have on there, and they are usually pretty much crappy, the super cheap ones. So we're going to replace them on both sides. So the first step in this whole process is ripping this drum off, and sometimes they come off nice. I usually pull these just to inspect the brakes every year, but sometimes not so much. This one's a little sticky, but it's coming. What happens is there's a ridge inside the drum and where the brake pads ride, and on the inside, or I should say, on this part of the drum here, the rust will accumulate. Sometimes the pads, they'll set up a groove, and then as they get adjusted farther and farther out, they'll lock up on the drum. But it looks like this one just close enough that she will come out. Now there is a way to adjust them. In the back of the drum there's a little hole you can punch out, and there is an adjustment, and I'll show it to you later, that actually brings these pads in and makes this drum not so tough to get out. But in this case, I'd like to be able just to take them out without having to worry about that. There we go. And right here, I don't know if you can see it, there's that ridge that was holding us up. So we'll wash this out, and then we'll come back and we'll grind that out. So and maybe even grind it down a little bit, so it's not a problem. But we'll do that later. Here's our drum assembly: rear pad, front pad, and the various springs that are here. So my dad built this little hook here. The nice thing is that this never bends, so it's great for pulling springs. I'm going to use a big screwdriver to make sure this is kind of loose before I start yanking on it, and it is. Wear your safety glasses, because you could certainly kick the spring right back at you. In fact, maybe I can just pop it off with the screwdriver. Nah, we'll try the tool. Of course, thanks to the video, I really don't have to write any of this down. I'll just rewatch the video and I'll know which way the springs go. And they just clip into little holes in the pad here. Earlier on, back when there was asbestos everywhere, we had to worry about that, but most of these brake pads now are not. But either way, if you can, try not to breathe in the fumes. Because if I just stop and look at it, and it's been a couple years since I've had to do a set of drums. This is part of the parking brake lever assembly. You'll find that pretty much everything in the rear drums hangs off of 4 points. There are 2 that hold the pads on. This is the little pin we're working around right now, and then the actual hydraulic cylinder itself. And of course, if it's a pain in the butt to take apart, you can imagine how much fun it is putting it together. And we're ready to pop that one out. There's a special tool for these that lets you push it in and turn it 90 degrees. I don't have one. But long story short, all you have to do is push it in and turn it. Try not to get the pin that's underneath it to turn with you. That lets that pop out. We have our little clip here. That right there. This assembly. You come right out, and there's a little bushing there, beware of that. And of course our little metal pipe. That part fell off too. The bushing fell, but we got it right there. Now this pad, outside of the spring here, and underneath there's a bracket that doesn't allow these to collapse, should be free to go. And it'll pull out. And there's another spring right there I missed. I'll just pivot that one right out. It'll be a fun one putting back in. There's our adjuster. But this is brake pad number 1. Let me go get our new brake pads. We've got a set of rebuilt units from Napa. When the name is Napa, the winner is you. Used to be a phrase of theirs. So we'll put it back in this new place here. But I'm just going to go ahead and take off the other one while I'm here. So we got our top retainer there, and that goes against the pads. That's essentially what holds it in. Usually I just use the video and cut in all the time, but I decided to shoot the whole process and make it look good in editing instead of it looking good and just me shooting it. So if I seem like an amateur, it's because I am. But this is easy to do stuff. Make sure that goes back there. That's what that other assembly is. That's the park brake assembly, and it'll want to stay there in the car. This is where the cable, your parking brake cable, when you actuate it, it actually pulls it in. And through all these levers that we have here, there's another lever we're not, well, let's take it out. Through all these levers and such, that's what squeezes these pads on the drum. Okay, so everything's dry. Except I just washed down my drum, but this will be the last thing we put on, and you can see it hopefully. There's that grounded edge. It's not really on the brake surface, but it's just the lip that forms from rust because nothing touches it, and it makes it getting the drum off the car very hard. So now what we're going to do is reassemble everything back together again. And when I speak about this adjuster, let me reel around the camera here. It's this thing right here. Yeah, we can see it good. This goes between the pads on the bottom right here. And you probably saw it when you messed with it a little bit. And it's got a screw, so you can actually turn this like this, and it actually spreads it apart. And what this does is it accommodates for the wear in the brake pads. As the brake pad surfaces wear down, they need to continually go farther out and out and out so that they can grab the drum. Whenever you hit the park brake, the pads are pushed out, and if there's any give left, the little arm wipes this little ratchet wheel. And if the ratchet wheel, if there's space to go, will turn and spread the pads until they stop. So every time you use the park brake, it always adjusts to make sure that your pads are, against the drum. So it's important with a drummed vehicle like this to use the parking brake because it's what keeps your rear drums in adjustment. And then there's a big spring here to keep them together and to make sure this thing doesn't fall out. And of course it goes this way with the ratchet on the back, and the spring mechanism to keep this together goes on this side here, so that way it stays out of the way of our little cogged wheel here. Right now, we've got our park brake assembly on. It's very tight, and it's controlled by this lever here. It's pushing on that lever, pushing everything out. It sends the wiper down here, make that adjustment whenever it needs to, and that's all nice and free. This is good. The spring's installed, everything's nice and tight. The drum, with the edge removed, will pop right back on, and that's how you change the brake pads. At least one. I have to do the other side now, but I won't show you the pleasure. That's how you do the brake pads on a rear drum brake, and it happens to be on this 1994 Chevy Caprice Station Wagon.